Hello, this is Judd Vance with Bonding with Board Games. In 2014, Worthington Publishing put out Holdfast Russia. It was my favorite game of the year of 2014. 2015, they came out with Holdfast Korea, covering the early stages of the Korean War. 2015, it was my favorite game of that year. Pickings were a little slimmer, but I really liked what they were doing. This year, they came out with, on Kickstarter, Holdfast North Africa. So, is it up to the standards of the other? Let's go in and take a look at it. Okay, here we go. We have it set up. This is the campaign scenario just set up at the beginning. There's a whole lot of reinforcements. I don't have them on the track. You can see Libya, Egypt, rough terrain, escarpment hexes right there, Quattro Depression, Alexandria, Tobruk, the places you see on these games. Here's a look at the pieces. These are armored units. You can tell by the treads. The one on the left's German, the one in the middle is Italian, the one on the right is British. The first number up there, the British, you can see the Germans has a 5 up here. That is the number of dice that they're going to roll. Italians roll 3, British roll 4. This is if you shoot at them, what number will hit. It's 6 for British and German, 5 for Italians. This is their movement factors that they get in a turn. The 4, 3, 2, 1, you flip them, rotate them like you do in block games. However, the number 4, 3, 2, 1 that you rotate in these block games, this is not the number of dice they roll. This is the number of hit points they can absorb before they are eliminated. So, as another example, I have an infantry unit. This is German infantry. 3 dice, hit it on 5 or a 6, moves 5. Okay? The trend you're going to see in these games is the Italian equivalents are always quite a bit weaker. Italians, you hit them only at 4, 5, or 6, a 50% chance of doing damage to them. The British infantries are right there with the Germans. Okay. So, when you get your time, at the start of a turn, you roll a die to check weather. 1 through 5, it's clear. 6 is poor. If it's poor, infantry lose 1 movement point, armor loses 2, air units are grounded. I'll get to air units in a second. Actually, I'm going to get to them now. Then you're going to check the supply. Over here, you got a Malta box. Over here, you got resource points. Each turn in the campaign, at the beginning, every turn, the Axis are going to get 12. The Commonwealth is going to start with 10. Then at a certain point, they're going to jump up. I think it's 14 they get later on at a certain point in the game. But the Germans can be reduced due to the effects of Malta. What's going to happen is, by itself, left alone, Malta's going to roll a die, and that's how many points they lose. So yeah, they're starting at 12, but they're going to lose 1 to 6. So what the Germans do is announce that they are going to put air units on Malta. They can put as many as they want on there. Okay? For each one, you roll a die. I might have it backwards. I believe if it's odd, you're going to cancel one of those losses, and if it's even, it's cancel 2. So if they roll a 6, and this guy rolls odd and even, 1 point, 2 points, so you're going to get 3 of them back. Okay? If the British have air units, which they will get later in the game, what you do with that is for every British unit plus Malta, you're going to roll a die for each one and then just pick the biggest one you get. So if British are putting a lot of air into it, your chances of getting that 6 are a lot greater. Okay? So that's the supply phase. That's kind of a neat abstracted way, although it can be pretty brutal, and you're going to find out that the Axis don't get a lot of supply in this. Now, the way it works is you adjust your resource points. Let's say they rolled a 1 just for grins. Okay, and the Germans didn't put any air units into it, or they canceled or whatever. Okay, so now you got 11 points to spend. The way these units work is it costs 1 resource point to move a unit. It doesn't matter, move, fire, fire, move. There's no phase. It's unit by unit. 1 guy can move, 1 guy can fire, 2 guys can move, they both can fire. Okay? So you spend a point and then move him according to his movement rates. Half a point for along the road. So half, there's be 1, 1.5, 2. Okay, a point to move along this. 2 points to enter zone of control. So you could move, if you started here, he has 4 points of movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. He could do that, and there's no stopping in zone of control, as long as you can move. So he has spent a point. You can slide it down, and then you put these nifty. This is something they've been needing in these Holdfast games all along. You can put moved, attacked, or both. Okay, so he's going to move there. We got this armor unit over here. He has 5 movements, so he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this guy over here is going to go 1, 2, 3, and stop. I mean, 4, 5, 6, 7, because he has 8. Okay, so I spent 1, 2, 3 points. You can mark them all as moved. Now it cost 1 point to attack a hex. This is not 1 point, 1 point, 1 point to attack. It's 1 point to attack the hex, as many units as I want. So I could spend all these guys that have a little moved on them. I'm going to have these 2 guys attack him. So I spend a point, I roll the dice, and I'll talk about that in a second, and then I could look at the results and say, okay, now I want him to spend a point and attack. Or I could have spent 1 point to have all 3 of them attack. So it really depends on how lucky you feel with the dice. Do I think I can eliminate that unit with 2 units and have the third? So anyways, you know, you might have a unit here who started the turn there, and you want him to move through and attack, so you really don't want to use him on this attack. So can these guys kill him off? So there's a little bit of gamble going on there. So 1 point to move, 1 point to attack a hex. At that point, I'd put done on all these guys because they've all done everything they could. If I had a guy here who started the turn there, and I included him, he'd get an attack. Let's say he's eliminated. Now he can move. He has 4 movement points. 1, 2, 3, 4. No stacking in this game. Holdfast, that's true for all of them. This resource points I've been talking about, it's true in all Holdfast games. So you can move through units, but you cannot stack at all. Okay, so that's the basics of that. Now, how do you do combat? For all of these units here, where's that British unit at? I'm going to put him back there. I got 3 dice for the Italians, 3 for this Italian, 5 for this German. So I got 11 dice. I'd roll 11 dice, and the hit number is on the defender. This is 6, so I'd only hit on 6s. If I had this infantry here, he's a 5. It's upside down. He's at strength 1. Any 5s would hit. So each time you do, you rotate, and then he's eliminated. Okay, combat is simultaneous. He would roll, he would fight back. So here I had this armor unit. So 11 dice, hit on 6. He's going to roll 4 dice. If there are any 6s, they must be taken by the German armor. If there's any 5s, just for grins, let's throw a German infantry. So now I've got this Italian armor at 5, infantry at 5. If there's a way of taking a number between multiple units, the armor must take it first. So if I throw a 6, must go against this one. If I throw a 5, must go against this one. If I rolled a 4, it goes, this is the only one it can hit. So each die does hits. Combat is simultaneous. That is true in all Holdfast games. So you do all your movement and all of that. At the start, which I probably should have said this up front, but I really didn't have a lot of units of damage on the Axis side. The very first thing before you start movement and fire, and this is where the games get challenging, is you have to decide how to spend the replacement points to repair units. So here comes the British side. I'm going to get all these guys out of the way, clean up the board a little bit. Okay, the British start with 10. If they want to fix this unit, repair it, it's 1 point for each step. 2 points for an armor. Well, that armor is already at full strength. So I could do 2 for there, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then spend the rest to move and attack. If you have reinforcements, they automatically come in. You can spend the points to move them. If you had a unit that was completely eliminated, like this guy, the first point, he's infantry, it takes an extra for the cadre step. So it's 2 points. Then if you wanted to keep building them up, 3, 4 points to take them from completely eliminated to full strength, put them back at Alexandria, and then you can spend points to move them if you want. For the armor units, it is 3 points for the cadre, then 2 for each additional one. So you do, and that's where you really come down to scratching your head and trying to do the math on, okay, if I do this much replacement, I plan on moving this guy and this guy and this guy, so I need 3 points for that. Plan on having them all attack, 4 points. How many do I have left for replacements? Okay, I can fix this many units. So there's a little bit of thinking going on how you plan that aspect of it. So check your reinforcements, do your replacements, move, combat, flip sides. Each turn, the turn marker advances, you're going to have reinforcements come in. Allies are going to get a whole lot more of them. Later on, they're going to get more planes. One last thing to talk about, the Monty and the Rommel pieces. You can get, see that +2 in the bottom right corner? That means you can pick a unit and have them move 2 extra. And then when combat comes, you can pick them up, stick them somewhere else, and get 2 extra dice. And I really didn't mention the other aspect of the air. Sorry about that. Any units you didn't have fight out at Malta, you can insert 1 into a battle and get +2 dice on it. So if you're not using a Malta, you're using them in combat. So it's how you're going to use those resources. And that is the gist of the game. The way you win or lose, you got these orange hexes here. There's 5 of them: El Al-Ghilia, Benghazi, Tobruk, Bardia, and Alexandria. Control 3 of 5 at the end of the game and you win the game. Control all 5 at any point, game's automatically over. You'll see the Axis start with a big power. They're going to come push, probably knock the Commonwealth out of Tobruk, push around here somewhere, and then the overwhelming numbers of the Commonwealth's going to come back and start pushing them backwards. That's really how to play the game. So we're back. So what's the verdict? My verdict is, did not like this game at all. And when I got it, I said I needed another North Africa game like I needed a hole in my head. I had Shifting Sands, I had Africa Corps, Rommel in the Desert. Why do I need another one? Because the others were so good. This is something that annoys me to greatly. If you ever hear me bag on Euros, it's a theme pasted onto a mechanic. When I play this, I mean, there's 2 scenarios, a short and a long. I even wonder, did they play test at all the short scenario? Why does it take place halfway through the game and the Axis are back at the beginning? There's no difference basically in setup for the Axis. They have to go reconquer it all with a whole going up against a lot more Brits. A lot of people I've seen, since I was the first one to come out with a negative comment on this game, and others coming out saying it's broken. That's kind of what I thought. I do not see a way for the Axis to win this. I pushed hard, I rolled good. I wasn't even threatening Bardia. I wasn't anywhere close to El Alamein. And if I'm pronouncing these wrong, it's because I'm a hick. Anyways, couldn't get anything close to that. If you know how to play the Holdfast system, you just stick bodies in the way. They're not going to push down that road. Cut and supply, that was the beauty of the first game. There lots of maneuvering, cutting off supply. The second game, you had the supply angle, and it's about maneuvering. This is just a grind. Just go up and hit them. As Hamtag Greg, my cohort, said, I love this phrase he uses: move close, roll high. That's all you do. It's a game of attrition. The British have a whole lot more units. The Italians are easier to hit, and the British have a lot more repair points and raw units. So when you're the British, you just go up and you hit those Italian units, knock them down to nothing. Then they got to spend what little repair points they have to try to bring these guys back just for cannon fodder. Otherwise, you're going to surround the German units. There's nothing special about the German units. Think about it. They got superior armor. They've got the 88s factored in. Those things were death on those armor units. They got them factored into the armor pieces. And what does it get you? 1 extra die. Now, them and the British can only be hit on a 6. That means, on average, you're going to have to roll the dice 6 times to see 1 extra hit. You roll 1 time per turn. That means every 6 months you're going to see 1 more hit. To knock an entire 4-strength unit out takes 2 years. That's the great advantage of the German armor. Really? That's it? I mean, Rommel in the Desert, they had that double hit system, if you're familiar with it. Most of these games have where the British have more supply, more units, and the Germans have far superior units. And it makes it an interesting, almost bluff aspect. This one, it's just attrition. Just go up and hit them. There's not much to it. And just come out of this saying, I don't feel like I'm fighting North Africa. There's no breakthroughs. It's just grind, 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 and the British, I don't see how they can lose unless you just roll all 6s because you got Jedi powers. And it was just a big dud, one of the biggest disappointments ever from a company whose games I usually really like. So if you say, well, hey, it's only got 3 pages of rules, it plays 2 hours, I love the simplicity. If simplicity is all you care about, go get Tank Battle from Milton Bradley, I think it was called, or Sirocco by the old TSR game. It's like a memoir predecessor. Not realistic, quite easy, a lot more fun than this. But if you just can't sacrifice, the phrase I use is, as they tried to take, when they take a system, they get rid of necessary creativity for required conformity. They got to shove it into this rule set. And if it doesn't work, round peg, square hole. And that's what you saw with this thing. It just didn't work. And it actually opened my eyes that more or less I don't like a lot of systems just because of that. There's a few Civil War series because the battles tend to be the same. But you can't think the tactics in this were the same as they were in Soviet Union. You just can't take that system and make it work without sacrificing too much, and this was the case. So one of the biggest disappointments, wish I hadn't backed it. There you go, Holdfast North Africa.